They've got style. They've got sass.
A girl's gotta have a couple of secrets.
And they've got spending power.
It's like making a collage.
Meet the Oldfluencers.
Is this the largest hat you've ever had on?
Yes, by far.
Proudly aging on their own terms.
It's amazing what you can do at home.
Busting through stereotypes along the way.
I believe that age is nothing and attitude is everything.
Vivian Boyko retired 8 years ago, but the Saskatoon grandmother needed a purpose. So she wrote a book, taught herself to play piano, then came TikTok.
Okay. My husband and I decided that we don't want children. And we're gonna tell them tonight at dinner. I have 3 sons, and I think they thought it's just a phase Mom's going through. She'll probably get over all this TikTok stuff once she realizes how hard it is to get followers.
6 weeks after Vivian created her first video,
there was 1 million views, and all of a sudden, there were thousands and thousands of followers. You know, it lit the fire.
Not only did she prove her sons wrong, the 69-year-old is now a TikTok star.
So sometimes a doctor.
With her own prop room, creating videos that make people chuckle all over the world. Vivian is part of the wealthiest and most influential generation in history, baby boomers, born between 1946 and 1964, and they're shaping a new conversation about aging.
Our age faces a stereotype that we're done. We've raised our families, you know, now we're just gonna sit in a chair, and that's not the way it is. We're out to learn new things, and we're seniors out to have fun.
It's more than fun. In a youth-obsessed market, it makes dollars and cents.
This is sort of like a marketer's paradise.
David Soberman is a marketing professor at Rotman School of Management in Toronto. He studies the buying habits of different generations.
What kind of influence do they have?
Well, they have a lot of influence in terms of spending. One of the things that people, when they get into their 60s, they also have a lot more time available.
It's estimated those over 55 control 60% of consumer spending and 62% of total wealth in Canada. Yet for every 10 marketing dollars, only 1 is directed at this older demographic. They shop online more than any other age group. They're not just spending on the obvious. Their sheer numbers mean boomers are buying more of just about everything than any other generation.
They're probably the wealthiest segment in society right now. Now, a lot of them are starting to retire, but they still have a really big influence on how society runs, even today.
One of the main reasons, they're living longer.
The whole part of getting older these days is that if you still have your health, guess what? You have time to do things and to have fun.
Are they the same consumers that they were, say, 20 years ago?
No, I think they're quite different. First of all, they're a lot more active. I think they're also interested in doing things and remaining quite involved in social activities. And so I think as a marketer, you have to consider that. How are you going to reflect people in that age group?
Despite their influence, boomers largely remain an afterthought, with campaigns targeting young people firmly in first place. Sabah Kwao is Chief Creative Officer at Cossette, one of the leading marketing and communications companies in Canada.
When I started, I was 26, Generation X, and there was an obsession with marketing to Generation X and how do we connect to them. A decade later, the obsession was millennials, now it's Generation Z. And so this focus on youth market never really goes away.
Hey, yo! Sabah says while young people may be the early adopters of the latest hot new thing, the older generation has most of the money.
Hands down, they're the largest economic driver in Canadian and US culture.
He says smart brands get the message that it's not always one size fits all.
You just can't assume that you can use one generic way of speaking to everyone anymore.
Sister Madonna Buter, 86 years old, goes for a morning run. Good for you, sister.
During the pandemic, the Quebec government had a problem.
This whole corona thing.
Okay, I'm bored in the house and I'm in the house bored.
Young people were tuning out of public health messaging. So Cossette's team found a secret weapon.
They used Oldfluencers to deliver the message, and it really engaged well with younger audiences. And I think creatively, one, it stood out because you saw older people doing things that you would see from younger influencers on TikTok.
It proved to be a huge success.
¡Oh, esas transiciones!
With more than 35 million views and 4 million likes.
I think the other thing that happens is this relationship between, I think of my kids and my parents and their relationship, and they will listen to things from my mom or my dad more than they might listen to me. So I think there was that connection point in terms of creatively, but also from an empathy point of view or connection in families.
Pop culture is starting to go beyond stereotypes in books, TV shows, and movies.
Post more of my glammy Grammy.
Creating characters that more accurately reflect this generation.
Still burning bright.
Molly Johnson has been part of the Canadian music landscape since the 80s.
I was in a punk band hanging in Kensington Market with a pack of, like-minded, annoying kids.
From punk to rock to jazz,
Can't take that away from me.
the award-winning artist has been making music for decades.
When I look out into my audience, I see a crazy range of ages, a crazy range. Super young kids. I'm always surprised at the teenagers that show up.
Summer nights.
Growing older in the music business also meant being true to herself.
At one point, you did decide to stop coloring your hair. Why did you
did.
decide to do that?
I decided to stop coloring my hair when I looked at the kinds of music I was writing, very authentic, and I wanted myself visually to reflect the authenticity of the music.
What was the reaction of the record company?
Fantastic. In fact, at one point, our beloved president said, "You're a legacy artist." And I thought, what does that mean? And then he thought about it for a minute, because he's a very thoughtful guy. And he said, "I think it's because you've outlived all the holes." And I went, yes, I have.
Monday, we make it.
She admits at times the ride hasn't been easy in an industry always looking for the next young artist.
We don't Photoshop. You can tell because my forehead's a little shiny. When you hit 50, you've built a career, you've raised your kids, you've wiped down that kitchen counter I don't know how many millions of times. You've been so focused on others. It's a difficult turning point, and I remember feeling invisible.
Molly is in rehearsals for a spring tour in France.
2, 3, go.
She believes the key to her staying power is trust. And knowing at 63, she still has a lot to say.
This is part of being a true artist, is to know yourself, trust yourself, to move with change. The stories that you're writing, the stories that you're listening to, and then trying to get into your music, always are going to be changing. I believe in staying fluid.
We're having nothing for supper.
Oh my, again?
For Vivian in Saskatoon, life's unfolding beyond her dreams. Her videos have well surpassed 10 million views. And the business world is taking notice of her reach and influence. She's approached weekly by companies wanting her to promote their products.
I think that boomers are continually trying new things. We've come a long ways. Our attitudes, everything we do, we've come a long ways.
Changing perceptions of old age to a new kind of aging.
This longer lifespan means that people are going to want to do more. If you're feeling more vital, you're not going to sit around at home. You might travel more, you might be engaged in your hobbies. This is a completely different headspace than 2 generations ago.